SuperGP is proudly brought to you by Diode and all their associate sponsors. It's round one of Diode SuperGP Champions Trophy, and all our associate sponsors are so excited to be down in the Mother City for this opening round. It's incredible how guys have gone all out, and it's some of the biggest fields we've seen in motorcycle racing in a long, long time. We're looking forward to all the action, not only here in Cape Town, but throughout the season. And this season is going to be electric. So far, we've seen a couple of chopping and changing in amongst the teams, a couple of new riders coming to the fore, and we're going to kick things off here with the 390cc KTMs. Super Juniors are in the house. It's a long way to travel for the SuperJunior Championship, but of course with this championship being wide open and all of the top contenders currently moving on to the Super 600s, exactly what MSA and SuperGP want to do, it's now up to any one of our brand new riders to go out there and take the number one plate in Super Juniors. It's very close at the front, and we're in for a great weekend and a great season. KTM 390s with no number one plate on the grid, Rob, is going to be a little bit of a change up here because there's a couple of guys from Cape Town, namely that man Sam Lockoff and his teammate Connor Hagen, who unfortunately missed out going to the Park Ferme area and have to start from the back of the grid.
Yeah, watch out for Sam Lockoff coming through. He's part of that Samurai team. Also, Anastas Racing backing him there, so he certainly has the pace around here. But can he come from the back of the grid? It's Ricardo Otto on pole position, Coccioni a good second, Tyrese Robert, the returning man there in third, Tarek van der Merwe, the 13-year-old youngest rider we have here today, Connor Hagen in fifth, Sol Turvey seventh, Peter Hill, Mitch Robinson, Mark Ruhr, Sam Lockoff, and Jason Lineker rounding out your grid for race number one.
Now we get ready now to go, and the 5-second board will be up as soon as that man steps off. We go to the lights. As soon as the lights go out, we go racing, and here we go down towards turn number one, KFM corner. It's a fantastic start there from Otto. Looks like the rest of the field got a little bit bogged down on the line. Tyrese Robert looks like he's going to sneak up there into second. And look at Lockoff already from the back of the field. He's made up 6 positions and moves through turn one in 5th place.
Tiny little rider, so he really is going to take advantage, especially down the long straight here. The wind has picked up a little bit from this morning, so his 390 is definitely going to cut through that wind. But Ricardo Otto at the moment is out front, right where he needs to be. But trying to get away from the rest of the pack is almost an impossible job here in the RC 390s. Greg, remember last year the racing we saw, Moto 3S, we had 4 or 5 bikes most of the time going into turn number one, and I think we're going to have the same here. Look at Lockoff. He's already right up there in 5th place. He's going to make a move now on the rider just ahead of him, I'm sure, on the inside going onto the back straight, and then it's Slipstream City.
Yeah, heading down in there, just man to take note of not being there at all and pushing hard. You can see Coccioni with a little bit of work to do now. Didn't quite work out for him. Let's see whether or not he's able to make up that ground, but you can see already Lockoff up into 4th place and looking to close down on the top 3. Heading down the back straightaway at Cape Town. It's all about slipstream. We're going to talk about that all day long here as they come onto the braking markers. Big foot out there from Otto, stopping anybody attempting a dive up the inside. And unfortunately, Tyrese Robert had to just back out of that one and think again.
It's all about staying with the leading pack. If you lose the toe, which Coccioni is doing at the moment, you really are going to suffer. You don't want to be left alone, because if you don't pick up that slipstream, you lose half a second to a second a lap. So you can see Lockoff already now. He's making a move on the inside of Tarek van der Merwe. Is he going to make it stick? Van der Merwe very late on the brakes. And look at that, Lockoff from 4th up into 2nd. So it just shows you how important and vital that slipstream is. Although, look at that, Ricardo Otto just chops straight across those. Lads, this is lap number 1 only, so take it easy.
Yeah, we still got a long way to go in this, and now foot out again into NGN corner. Hard braking coming out of Tarek van der Merwe, trying to find a way back at Lockoff. Lockoff and van der Merwe just behind the battle for the lead. Oh, you can see Tyrese is a bit concerned. He can hear the bike behind him. He had a big look over the shoulder, and he can see right into the eyes of the Samurai racer.
That is Tarek van der Merwe, bike number 32 with his Sheridan Moraes replica. So he's going to try and replicate what Shez has been doing overseas. He's going to try and make a move on the inside of Lockoff, doesn't make it stick, and just behind there's not Coccioni, it's actually another local man. That's Connor Hagen, just off the back of him, so he's not going to pick up that slipstream, so he's pretty much in no man's land, and that's not where you want to be in the 390s. You can see now 4 abreast down the back straight. It's all about who can break the latest, and watch out for leg out style from Ricardo Otto, your pole position man, and it really does chop the line. Look at Tarek van der Merwe, the 13-year-old on the inside, and great to see Tyrese Robert back and feeling so racy here down in Cape Town.
Yeah, he's definitely back in it and looking for a chance to take this championship, Rob. We saw last season how well he was going, fighting in amongst the usual contenders at the front end. Otto was up there as well, so it looks like it could be a two-way battle here, depending on whether Lockoff comes round and completes the entire season. Tarek van der Merwe, definitely the find of the season so far, if you take into account that he is the youngest rider and going into KFM up in a second place, right on Tyrese's tail, who's now taken the lead. Otto dropping from first down to fourth place there and losing a little bit of ground, but that's kind of what we're going to see all the way through this race. You're going to see these top four and maybe the top five if Hagen can get in there, just changing every single time they hit the brakes, climbing on the accelerator, all the way through what is going to be the length of this race. And this is exactly what happened last year. You mentioned 4 or 5 riders being involved in battles, very Moto3-esque. This is exactly what KTM Super Juniors is all about.
The 13-year-old there, bike 32, Tarek van der Merwe, he's in second place, our first time ever at the Cape Town circuit, so really adjusting not only to the circuit but to the 390 as well. It's only his third time riding that KTM 390 machine, so really is a talent of the future, as is all of these riders. You can see there Conor Hagen, he's doing everything he can to try and stick with the leaders, but just doesn't have that toe. This is where he's going to lose out now, because while the 4 in front of him have got slipstream, he's pretty much in no man's land. But 4 abreast once again down the back straight, nice and wide circuit here at Killarney. On the brakes, Tyrese Robert, the perfect line. You can see he goes from the outside and just cuts straight across the nose of the rest of the riders, but he is the man that they're all going to climb in the slipstream now. So going into turn 1, I'll be very surprised if Tyrese Robert is still leading.
Tarek in the slipstream, but look at Lockoff. Lockoff using both of those riders and a little bit of extra squirt out of that corner, heading down towards turn number 1 now into KFM. Have we got a Cape Town rider at the front? We do. Lockoff hits the front. So the Samurai team are going to be stoked with that, and as they go through KFM corner, it's Tyrese Roberts on his tail. Tarek van der Merwe didn't see that one coming. He was going to try a move on Tyrese and lost out as he had to go and try and go defensive on Lockoff's move. Lockoff caught both Tyrese and van der Merwe out. So up to the lead and now taking a little bit of advantage on it, trying to pull a bit of a margin. And remember, with the Cape Town boys, as we always know, Rob, you'll know from racing with them as well as from being part and parcel on the circuit, there are those special little Cape Town lines that only the Cape Town boys know. So 3 boys behind, definitely going to have to, well, not really the 4th one. Ricardo Otto, though, could certainly use a little bit of assistance and watch for the lines. He doesn't have to worry. He's going to try up the inside of Tarek into Malmesbury. Didn't quite make it stick, but he had a big look anyway.
Yeah, it's not worth making the move there. It's almost better just to sit behind and pick up that slipstream now, which Ricardo Otto is doing. He got great drive onto the back straight. So once again, 4 abreast, and Sam Lockoff is leading at the moment. You can hear every time he takes the lead, the Cape Town fans really do applaud their little young rider, and he'll hope that Conor Hagen, I don't think he's got enough now to catch this leading 4, but he really needed his other stable mate and local rider to help him out here, because at the moment he's got 3 very fast young Joburg riders right on his tail as they come across the line now. Once again, you can hear in the background the Cape Town fans, especially the Sam Lockoff supporters there on the pit wall, screaming for the local man. They want a local winner. As we look now further down the field here, this is the battle between some of the other riders: Peter Hill, Saul Turvey, Mark Roos, Jason Lineker and Mitch Robinson just behind the leading trio. But you can see the riders there. That is Peter Hill and Saul Turvey in a good battle just behind the leaders.
Yeah, looking good. These guys just having some fun and games, and of course being part and parcel of this bumper day. Remember, it's not only Super GP here this weekend. We've combined for the first time in about 4 or 5 years with the Extreme Festival. So you've got National Championship racing on 4 wheels and 2 wheels here in Cape Town. And what a way to kick the season off as they head down that back straight away again. The first 4, look at the gap they pulled now. Conor Hagen seems to have gone missing. Not quite sure where he's ended up. There he is. And that's the difference. That's what you get when you've got 4 riders and the ability to slipstream with those 4 riders, and when you're sitting all on your own. And wow, that's the best we've seen down in the Cape Town corner. All 4 of them on the braking markers and absolutely side by side. Eventually it's Tyrese who wins out. Lockoff into second and van der Merwe just ahead of Otto as they came out of Cape Town.
I love speaking to these young riders in the pits. You ask them, so what's your strategy going to be for the race? And they say, strategy? What's that? And you can see that's pretty much it. I just want to lead. That's all they want to do. It's not about counting down the laps or anything. It's I want to lead the race. And at the moment, it's Tyrese Robert up there. You can see he runs a little bit wide onto the dirty part of the track, so loses that traction. And Tarek van der Merwe coming through there.
I did pick up on a rider going down there, Rob, and it could possibly bring out a red flag. Remember, with the new MSA ruling, if there's a rider down or if he's on the circuit at any point, unfortunately, it means that the flag has to come out and we have to restart this race. So it's now Lockoff on pole. He doesn't have to start at the back. He doesn't quite get the start he wants. It looks like it might be Tyrese who heads down into turn 1 first, and on his tail it is Lockoff who just keeps out Otto, or does he? No, Otto bombs up the inside. Lockoff using the Cape Town line, and he loses out to van der Merwe as well.
Oh, you could see that. And Tyrese Robert, he is a little bit bigger than the other riders, just in tallness. And you could see that really does help at the start. Just gives him that little bit of extra traction while the little young guys are still trying to get as much weight down as possible on these little 390s. Unfortunately, it was Connor Hagen, the other local man there, who was in a pretty lonely fifth position, who's crashed out. So it's pretty much about these four now out front, just as we saw in part one of the race. And as Tyrese Robert, he's really going for the championship this year. Came oh so close last season. We saw him pick up a good couple of podiums and came so close a couple of times to winning the race. He looks over his shoulder. He knows that he's going to be the leader onto the back straight, which means he's going to be slipstream, and it's all about can he defend on the brakes in going into the final stages of the race into Cape Town Corner.
So what you're telling me is that if I want to race this, I'll be good on the starts, but
That's
not
it.
that good down the straights.
No, that's it. Your whole shot and that's it. Pull in with technical problems.
Bad Brad style. I like that. Yeah. Right, down onto the braking markers into Cape Town they come. Once again, 3x3 or 2x2 for second place there. Tarek van der Merwe, what a ride from this youngster. Yeah. Certainly looking like he has got a big future in 390s. He looks like he's got the riding style. He's certainly got the pace. And if you look at what him and Lockoff are doing in their first time of asking, they certainly are going to be contenders if they're going to run the entire season. I know that van der Merwe is. I'm hoping that the Samurai team are going to bring along Lockoff and Lineker for the rest of the season in the Super Juniors.
Oh, if we can have these four in every single race, we'll have racing like this, no doubt, because these really are the stars of tomorrow. As they come out of turn number 1 into turn 2 to complete yet another lap, it's still that man, Ricardo Otto. You'll see the leg come out. That's just from braking so late, and he does chop the line of everyone else. So it's really up to Tyrese Robert, Tarek van der Merwe and Sam Lockoff to try and make a move. They've got to really get in the slipstream now down the back straight, and it's going to be about the final turn. That is where races are won and lost here at Killarney.
And what you need to start taking into account as well, Rob, is who is going to be at the front end heading into this section. You don't want to be leading through Malmesbury and onto the back straight on that last lap, because as we've seen so far, the slipstream effect has played a major role here. Where both Tarek van der Merwe and Lockoff are sitting are probably the ideal positions to be in.
For sure.
So I wonder if Tyrese Roberts is going to start falling back, or is he going to try and push and get away? You can see by the way that things are going right now, it's all about Tarek van der Merwe getting super drive out of Malmesbury and taking the lead. Tyrese going to try and keep Lockoff out, but Lockoff on the inside line there forces Tyrese on the high line, and they eventually come out side by side. Drag race to the line. Let's see whether or not they're going to be able to do things here side by side as they come through. No, Lockoff has got the advantage. Look at Otto using the inside line now, trying to squeeze through on Tyrese. That could have been a plan. Maybe Tyrese is looking at this as an option as they head down into KFM Corner, coming into the closing stages. As I mentioned earlier on, you do not want to lead onto that back straight, because that's what happens.
Yeah, Tarek van der Merwe's got a little bit of a buffer now, so if he can put his head down, maybe extend his lead through the fast right-handers here onto the back straight, and if he's just got enough to defend going into the final turn, he could extend his lead. But Lockoff, Tyrese Robert especially, was a very brave move there, railing it around the outside of Lockoff, not surrendering that position. So it's brave stuff here from Tyrese Robert. He knows that he needs to get as many points as he can in the opening race of the season to carry himself and the momentum through the rest of the season. But Sam Lockoff, he wants to win in his first RC390 race in front of his local crowd. There's nothing better. Brad Anastas, Clint Seller and Adolf Boshoff would have had a little word in his ear, told him a little couple of secrets and said, coming onto the back straight, do not lead. Get in the slipstream and do it on the brakes.
And that's exactly what he's looking to do here. Maybe a little dress rehearsal for the next couple of laps, just to see if he can get it all right. Remember, you've got to get the braking right, you've got to get through the turn, and you've still got to get the power down on time to get to the line in the front. There you can see Tyrese Robert had done the absolute perfect move. If this was the last lap, and hopefully it is, we'll wait and see as they head across the line. I think they've still got one to go, but I can tell you something, Tyrese Roberts would have timed that to perfection had this been the last lap. Now they come across the line. He's got Tarek van der Merwe in the slipstream, but he should be able to hold him to the line. That's as they come across the line. There you can see, not quite checkered flag time, so if you can do that one more time on the next lap, we are certainly in for an opportunity for Robert to win. But this is what you got to take into account. Two very hungry youngsters on his tail, and when I say youngsters, it's new rookies to the class as well. Ricardo Otto sitting in prime position right now, down in fourth.
You can see Tarek van der Merwe doing everything he can to keep the Ricardo Otto and Tyrese Robert behind him. As they break now for turn number 2, it's Robert out front, Tarek van der Merwe in second, Sam Lockoff and Ricardo Otto. So Otto at the moment is in prime position. If he can get this next section right, get the drive he wants onto the back straight, he's going to be in prime position to do it on the brakes. But like you said, it's not only about getting it done on the brakes, then you've got to defend and get the drive to get across the line in that first position. At the moment, Tyrese Robert not where he wants to be. He's going to be the carrot for the rest of the donkeys behind him as we go down the back straight now for yet another time. Ricardo Otto, look at this knee down, those Pirelli tyres working oh so well here at Cape Town, offering the riders loads of grip as we look at the battle just behind the leaders. Again, it's Peter Hill, Sol Turvey and Mark Ruiz. So this battle going all the way down to the wire. You can see even on the dirty stuff, no problems there. Brake clamped, and you can see the amount of grip that those Pirelli tyres are doing even in the dirty stuff. Is now onto the final turn, and it's Sam Lockoff at the moment with Tarek van der Merwe. So let's see how this is going to play out now as they drag down to the line.
Yeah, checkered flag is waiting. Lockoff going to be looking for a victory here. Can you believe that? First time out, first race, first place. That's the way to do things in this championship. Get it done right from the word go, because we know how tight this championship can get. The flag comes out, Lockoff wins. You can see Ricardo Otto was not happy about that. Tarek van der Merwe will be stoked with the podium in his first outing, but Tyrese Robert has got some work to do. Here comes the second battle to the line. It's going to be Peter Hill, who just beats out Sol Turvey and Mark Ruiz to the line. Super run from them. And the Masters side of the Super Juniors is also an exciting little race. Lineker was just in there as well. Good to see. But more importantly, it's great to see all these guys going at it full tilt. Confirmation of the results, though. Lockoff takes the win from Tarek van der Merwe, Tyrese Robert and Ricardo Otto, with Peter Hill down in 5th place, Sol Turvey ahead of Mark Ruiz, Jason Lineker, and the top 9, it's Mitch Robinson.
Now we're going to catch up with our riders now in Park Ferme. It really was all about that man, the local lad. You could hear the crowd going ecstatic as he crossed the line. Great ride from 13-year-old Tarek van der Merwe, I think the youngest man we've ever had on a Super GP podium. And Tyrese Robert, those are good points in the bag as he goes for that number 1 plate in 2017.
Yeah, I did push my best. I tried to do everything I could. It's just that last lap I stuffed up and I lost my race.
You don't want to be in the front on that last lap, do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
All right, so you've got to learn from that and hopefully come back for the second one.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank everyone that helped me get here, Evolve Nutrition and Uncle Andy Racing.
For a 12-year-old, that's not a bad effort, hey? Got to get a little bit quicker there and maybe go one step in the second one?
Yes, definitely. Going to try my best. It's just done back straight. Slipstream is a major thing on this racetrack, so hopefully you can do.
Well, you certainly look like you knew what you were doing when it came to slipstream, so hopefully it works out according to plan for race 2.
Yes, hopefully.
Well, dude, according to one of your sponsors there, Brad Nash says this is a bit of history in making. It's the first time a national championship rider has come as a rookie and won his first race, so you must be pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I am. I just want to say good luck to Team Samurai for the future races, and I'm extremely proud of my effort.
Not a bad effort at all. It looks like you're going to be in the run for your money, though, because now they've seen what you've got to be and where you've got to be in that second race, so it's all about a chess game, eh?
Yeah, it really is. I don't know what to say.
A man of many words.
Yeah, I think it'll take a while for him to get used to getting onto a podium and having a chat to us afterwards, Rob, but he certainly has got what it takes to get to that podium, and look at the start he's got again down here in race number 2. Otto getting the whole shot again, Tyrese Roberts. What a start there from Hill. Hill up in a 3rd place, but now starting to get in the mix and forcing Tarek van der Merwe wide. And you can see he's not happy about that, is it, eh? Little gesticulation there. Wonder if that was like Michelle Bell, or was that maybe a little bit of retribution coming a bit later on. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But Tarek van der Merwe certainly got hindered down into KFM corner, and he's got a massive mountain to climb. Look at the top 2 here getting away. Lockoff is in 3rd place. He should be able to bridge that gap. We saw how quick he was in race number 1, but Tyrese and Otto trying to get away right from the word go.
Yeah, that's pretty much ended all hopes of getting on the podium for Tarek van der Merwe. He's there behind, that's Connor Hagen. So he's made it out for race number 2. That's great to see. But the 2 out front, Sam Lockoff doesn't have that slipstream at the moment. Now that it's Connor Hagen, this field pretty much split up after all those antics in turn number 1. Tarek van der Merwe will be kicking himself, unfortunately, just getting caught up behind there. And that's what happens when you don't get the start. You can find yourself in no man's land very easily in this class. Ricardo Otto, we saw he was not happy after race number 1 result, and he's up into the lead now ahead of Tyrese Roberts. Sam Lockoff, these 2, if they were careful and they could look behind him and see the gap that they've got, they could work together to pull away from the local man. You can see Tyrese Robert looking behind him just to see who is behind him, and you'll see that bright blue samurai bike of race number 1 winner. That's Sam Lockoff, the local man. So he's in the slipstream now. Can he do it on the brakes into turn number 1? I don't think he's close enough. You can see, Greg, by the flags, the wind has picked up big time here now in race number 2. So that's going to play a big part now on these little RC390s.
Yeah, you take into account, Rob, you'll know from racing yourself at this circuit, when you go down that front straight with the wind blowing the way it is right now, it hinders your braking, and you basically hit the brakes and get a little bit of extra push from behind. However, down the back straight, it's going to help you out in terms of braking, because you're going to come and be able to brake that much later. these guys will push it to the limit, to the braking limits, and of course will go down to the very, very last centimetre before they climb on that front brake. But now with the wind helping them, they can go maybe about 10 centimetres more.
The other thing with the wind is you can see the circuit is being modified for some drift car racing that's coming later in the year. You could tell us more about that just now, but that'll be blowing some of that dust onto the track, so your lines really are changed up and you cannot run wide. You've got to hit the same line pretty much every lap. The Pirellis are doing a great job at offering grip around the circuit, and the circuit inspectors and the guys down here at Killarney have done a tremendous job at getting this track ready for this weekend's racing. But at the moment, out front, it's still Tyrese Robert, Ricardo Otto, and Sam Lockhoff has now closed down on our front two. Tarek van der Merwe, he's up into fourth, so he's already passed Conor Hagen, but unfortunately just a couple of seconds behind the leader, so I don't know if he'll have enough to get onto the back of the top three.
Now, Conor Hagen made a mistake in the first one. We saw that, trying to push too hard when he was in no man's land. So hopefully that's not going to be the same case here for Tarek. Tarek must just bide his time. He knows he's still got a chance of getting onto the podium if something goes wrong with his top three. And it's usually the case when we've got such close racing. The local man hits the front down into KFM corner. So a super effort there from Lockhoff. Didn't quite get the start, just as I mentioned earlier. Took his time, slowly but surely caught up to the front end, and now hits the front and tries to pull a bit of a margin. Hopefully doesn't go too hard, because remember, the mistakes here can come relatively quickly. And there's a move. That's a Cape Town line coming out of not a local man, out of Otto. So using the ability and knowing that the bump is in the middle of the circuit, went on the inside of the bump, got through, and look at the gap he's pulled. It's like 3 or 4 bike lengths, Rob.
Yeah, Ricardo Otto's changed up his strategy in race number 2 now. He knows if he gets past, he wants to pass straight back. He does not want to get left behind as he did in race number 1. I know he was a little bit disappointed and knew that there were a couple of moves that he should have made in race number 1. So he's not going to let those same mistakes creep in now in race 2. Tyrese Robert, as well, we heard in his interview, he said, do not want to be leading onto the back straight, and so doing the exact perfect thing at the moment. He comes onto the back straight in third, so he's going to pick up that slipstream. Tarek van der Merwe doing an incredible job, actually the fastest rider on track at the moment, but just only by a couple of tenths, so not enough to close on these front three. Sam Lockhoff, though, is the man out front and once again leads onto the front straight. Ricardo Otto in second. Tyrese Robert looks very happy there in third. He knows he doesn't need to make the moves and he doesn't need to put more pressure on those tyres than he has to. It's all about the final lap. That's when it counts. If he can get in the slipstream, we know how late he is on the brakes. He can do it, tuck everything that he has in and cross that line in first place. But it's all about picking up as many points as you can down in Cape Town. Oh, we've got a crash here. That's our leader, Sam Lockhoff. The local man has gone down in turn number 1, and could that be the win? We said it was going to play a factor, and it looks like it just has now on the local man.
Rob, no doubt about it. If you look at the way you come out of KFM corner there, you basically got the wall on the inside right the way through, and as you exit KFM onto the Jabez Straight, you find that the wind picks up and it literally picks the motorcycle right up underneath you. Now, Lockhoff is a very good rider. He's a small rider, and I don't know if he would have had the muscle to hang on to that motorcycle when it got out of shape with the wind, and it's thrown him right off and out of contention. I don't think he's going to get back up on the bike, and I don't think he's going to continue this race. So we've got a two-way battle for the lead here, and right now, as we mentioned, Tyrese Roberts sitting in the best place in the house. Can he make a move and get through on Ricardo Otto? And incredibly, the fastest man on track now down into the 127s. That's a second quicker than anybody else on track is Tarek van der Merwe. But look at the gap he's got to try and make up, Rob. Unfortunately, being on your own on this circuit with this amount of wind, you won't bridge the gap to these two. And if they work together, there's going to be a battle here between these two for the lead and for the win.
Just behind them, Conor Hagen, Jason Anika, Sol Turvey, Mark Russ, Peter Hill, that same battle that we saw in race number 1, Mitch Robinson just behind them. So Peter Hill, whatever problems he had there in turn number 1 at the start, seems to have sorted out. But as Tyrese Robert, he hits the front now, and they would have seen that crash. You can see running wide, so that wind really is playing a huge factor now with these young riders. You said it, as soon as you come out there, that protection of the KFM wall really does come into play, and the wind just picks that front wheel up so easy. So these riders are going to have to change up strategy just a little bit, take into consideration the wind. Your brake markers change, everything changes now, and with the circuit also getting a little bit dusty because of the wind blowing the dust on, it really is all about mental strength now. And Tyrese Robert, you can see how much time he's lost. So Ricardo Otto right where he wants to be out front, so it's all up to Tyrese Robert if he can close that gap. Once again, Tarek van der Merwe there in third place now, gifted that podium from Sam Lockhoff's unfortunate crash into turn 1. But Tyrese Robert, good momentum through the right-handers here. He's going to get great drive, and you can see how much time he closes there onto the back wheel of Ricardo Otto.
Otto had a big look over his shoulder and realised that he hadn't gone through there as quickly as what he'd like to have. And look at that, there's the slipstream effect in absolute perfection. Yep. Comes out of Malmesbury, climbs into the slipstream, goes down the back, and in fact the straight is so long enough that you can see a double slipstream effect there, and Otto actually capitalised on the quick riding from the man who came into the lead for about 2 seconds,
Yeah,
and then had it
that.
taken away from him. It's just incredible to watch these guys. Imagine if we'd had all four there. That would have been incredible to see as they came through there, down that back straight, and a double-double we would have seen there in terms of slipstreams.
That's the beauty about the Super Junior class. It not only teaches you about riding a motorbike fast. Remember, a lot of these KTMs, you can go worldwide and race them in American championships, over in Britain as well. They have it in Austria, everywhere in Germany. But it also helps them tune up their race skills. It helps their race craft. It gets them ready to go overseas and tackle the boys there, because you know when you go overseas, those boys come ready to race. Speaking about ready to race on KTM bikes, look at Sol Turvey, Jason Lineker doing a great job up there in 5th position, Peter Hill just behind them, and Mitch Robinson. So these guys in a battle of their own, but one to watch. So great racing all the way through the field, even though it's split with our two riders out front. Tarek van der Merwe still in that lonely 3rd place, but still closing down on the leaders. There's the other Samurai bike there, that is Jason Lineker, and I think that might have been Peter Hill once again going straight into turn number 1. So maybe some braking problems there on that KTM machine.
Well, we mentioned the braking problems all day long with the additional bit of wind here, so he's been caught out there ever so slightly as well, but fortunately kept it upright. Now, have we look at this. Tyrese Robert in the perfect position, but he's got to get good drive out of Malmesbury again. We're coming to the closing stages here. He's going to probably just try and start looking at a dress rehearsal of what he needs to do on that final lap to make it stick. We've seen how good Otto is down this back straight. He's able to get a double slipstream effect, so if Tyrese gets in that slip, there's enough time for Ricardo to tuck straight back at him and come back at him for an opportunity to pass again. There you see him, comes across, gets back into the slipstream, comes out under braking. Is he good enough? Yes, he is. That is super riding coming out of Ricardo Otto, and some seasoned veteran stuff there from him, considering he's still a very young rider and a long way to go in his career.
These two are definitely title favourites for this year. Ricardo Otto only came into the championship halfway through last year, so he really has been an incredible find, not only in Super GP but in local regional stuff as well. But Tyrese Robert comes across the line, Johnny Ray, helmet and all, onto the brakes, can't do it, but he's not too fussed about that. Like you said, he's pretty much lining up a move in the final turn on the last lap when it counts. Tarek van der Merwe, once again the fastest rider on track and closing down on the front two. And look at this battle. Jason Lineker gets his nose chopped off there by Peter Hill, and it looks like Sol Turvey and Mark Roos, they just get their elbows out soon. Watch this battle.
This is super stuff actually. Now Mitch going to be under a bit of threat here, and I think a little bit of a comeback here from the youngster. Lineker comes straight back and shows that he's got the metal to mix it up with not only the front end but also with the mid pack. You can see down on the braking markers here, coming under that braking, 16 Mark Roos has a look on the inside, didn't quite make it stick. Lineker hung on, but super to see these guys going at it. The Hillbilly Racing boys taking on the Samurai Racing boys.
Yeah, and let's just say the slightly heavier riders won't be feeling the wind as much as these young light riders are. But look at Tyrese Robert now. He's right on the tailpiece, runs a little bit wide there, so you can see the bump there as well. You've got to really miss that bump because it really does affect these little RC390s. But Tyrese Robert, this is where he is so fast. He really does carry the momentum and the corner speed and gets on the drive and gets tucked right in the tailpiece there of Ricardo Otto and already pulls out the slipstream. But that, in a way, is hindering him because he gets past, but that allows Ricardo Otto to pick up the second slipstream, and Otto is just going to do it once again on the brakes. So this really is the same stuff we've seen throughout the whole race. Once again, it's Ricardo Otto. He wants to lead. He does not want to sit in second place. He just wants to be out front.
Tyrese Roberts going to lose out if that's the maneuver that he's able to pull every single time down that back straight. Tyrese gets in the slip, gets to the front, and almost instantaneously loses it out again with the second slipstream coming into play. We've got to have probably about 2 laps to go for these guys now, down onto the braking markers into turn 1, and I think Tyrese Robert has to rethink his strategy.
Tarek van der Merwe is coming, and he's coming fast. That big ride fast sticker that he's got on the side of the bike is really coming into play now, because Tarek van der Merwe has literally set almost lap record pace the last 3 laps. You could see how much he's closed. He wasn't even in shot a couple of laps ago, and he's right there. So any mistake from these two, and we're coming into a couple of back markers, Tarek van der Merwe is ready to pounce after that terrible little move that he had in turn number 1 with Peter Hill. But what an incredible ride. That'll teach him a lot, and I know he won't be happy with finishing third, especially with the pace that he's shown. He knows he could have won, but again, it's teaching him racecraft, it's teaching him maturity, so he'll take a lot from this race. But our 2 leaders now with that back marker, I think they might catch him going into the final turn there, so they've really got to be careful now. It's all about the slipstream now for Tyrese Robert. He is tucked in everything she's got, but Ricardo Otto, he's got the slipstream there of the back marker as they come into the final turn now, and we know how good Ricardo Otto is on the brakes. Leg out style for sure, late on the brakes. Yep, Tyrese Robert can't do anything about it at the moment.
Yeah, I think that was Mitch Robinson they went flying past and got through on. So Robinson looks like he may only have to do 1 lap less than everybody else, because they've now been lapped and passed by the leaders coming to the line. This is where things could change up. Are we going to see a change up? No, we're not. Otto's going to hang on. Otto has got this down to perfection. The checkered flag is out. He timed it well. He used the back marker to his advantage. I think Tyrese was hoping to get into his slip, but lost out because of that back marker. Tyrese Roberts is now going to have to settle for that second place. Fantastic ride out of Tarek van der Merwe. He certainly came through the field, and as you mentioned earlier on, Rob, lap record pace. Not quite the lap record we saw last year, but certainly in with a shot of getting right up there. And a 127 coming out of him to give him that third spot. Connor Hagen eventually finished up in 4th place. He beat out Lineker to the line for the 5. Then it was Saul Turvey in 6th place, Mark Ruiz in 7th, 8th place going to Peter Hill, and Mitch Robinson in 9th.
What a way to start off the day's racing. Tarek van der Merwe there, he'll be happy with that podium, but knows with the pace that he had, he could have won the race. And we look on the top step of the podium for the first time is Ricardo Otto in the KTM Super Juniors. Raymond from Pirelli gives him his trophy there. Well done to Tarek van der Merwe, who picks up that 3rd place. And of course Tyrese Robert there in 2nd place. So good championship points as they head into round 2. KTM Rider of the Day, that will go to young Tarek van der Merwe, 13 years old, already on the podium. Keep a lookout for him as the rest of the season continues.
Tariq, an impressive ride from you today, buddy. First time in the Nationals and 2 podiums. You've got to be happy with that. But more importantly, the KTM Rider of the Day.
Yes, thank you very much. And then, just wish I could have got a better position. And
You were working hard. I think if we'd stayed to the main scheduled amount of laps, you might have got there.
Yeah, I would have. If I just had one more lap, it would have been at least the 2nd place.
It's tight, but this is what the championship's all about. Now you're going to East London. How are you feeling?
Pretty good and excited. So I already know the track, down to pace. Happy for it.
Yeah, I just messed up the last corner, but I'm happy. I did my best and the outcome was okay for me.
Coming down to Cape Town, you were looking for valuable championship points because you know how tight this championship gets.
I did get my valuable points and I'm happy to go home with this and just work on it, and when I get back to Joburg we hopefully can do something else.
East London is the next round. That's a big circuit, and there's probably about 4 or 5 opportunities to get into Slipstream as you go down the main straight through Potters and Rifle.
Yeah, I really love East London here. It's going to be a heck of a race. I just hope it doesn't rain like the last time.
Dude, it's a very, very tough championship to be involved in the Super Juniors, but you showed your mettle today, came out on top, and probably going to take overall for the day as well.
Yeah, I'll try. It was very difficult in the first race. And yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to my sponsors, Auto Racing Team, my dad, everyone that helped me, Kewan teaching me this track, and it was very fun. Tiring in the slipstream and stuff. Very fun. Thanks.
Take us through that last move, because I don't think Tyrese realised that you were in the slipstream of that back marker, and when you got in there, it actually kept you in the lead.
Yeah, I saw the guy and thought it's going to keep me up in turn 5, so I just took his slip, and I actually tried to cut Tyrese off, and then just all happened. It worked out for me.
It worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly for me.
You're looking forward to the next round now? It's going to be a tight championship.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. East London is going to be slipstreaming and everything. So yeah, I'll try to win the championship or just win the races and everything. Get podium.
That's it for our Super Juniors from Cape Town. We'll see you in East London for the second round.